Welcome back everybody. In this lesson we'll be looking at how to check your essay. Just to confirm, this is step 5 of our 5-step writing process, and it's also a very important step. Why is checking your essay so important? Well, basically it's the fastest way to improve your band score. In the space of 5 minutes, you can correct several sentences that could make the difference between getting a band 6.5 and getting a band 7. What you're looking for is checking your grammatical range and accuracy. Remember, if we're trying to get a band 7, we're required to produce frequent error-free sentences. This means that well over half of our sentences need to have no mistakes in them. So even little things like missing an S off a word is a mistake. And they're things that we can check for and correct ourselves. You also need to show that you have good control of grammar and punctuation. So you can look back and check for these things as well. Our focus when we're checking in these 5 minutes at the end of the essay is therefore on our grammar, our punctuation, and our spelling. Spelling is important too. There are a few things that you should not check for in the last 5 minutes of your essay, and they are the structure of your essay. You do not have time to go back and rewrite your essay or change the paragraph order or do anything major like that. So we're not checking that the structure of your essay is correct. With 5 minutes to go, it's too late to be doing that. You should already have gone in there knowing what structure you need to use for the different essay types. So this essentially shouldn't be a big problem for you, but you can't change the structure you have used with just 5 minutes to go. You should also not check for your use of natural English. Whilst you need to write much like a native speaker does, if you haven't written in natural English the first time, it's unlikely that you're going to know any more natural phrases than the ones you've already used. So this is not something you should go back and check for. You should also not check for the strength of your arguments that you've made in your paragraphs. That would require rewriting sentences, and you're not going to have enough time to do that either in the 5 minutes that you have to check your essay. And finally, do not check for repeated words or phrases either. It's unlikely that if you've repeated words several times, it's probably because you don't know any other words. You've already spent some time in the introduction thinking of synonyms for keywords, so you should have used those throughout the essay. If you weren't able to think of any at the beginning, you're unlikely to be able to think of any at the end of your essay. Your time can be better spent doing some of the things I'm going to show you now. So, what exactly should you be checking for? Firstly, you should be checking for your use of articles. That's the words a, an, and the. Have you included them, and are they in the right places? Secondly, prepositions. These are often misused and confused and mixed up. So these are words such as in, on, at, to, into, by, and for. Reread your work, check if they've been used correctly. Next, this is a big one. Check for singular or plural mistakes, especially with countable or uncountable nouns. For example, informations is not correct. It should be there's a lot of information with no S. That's because it's an uncountable noun, but it's common for students to want to put an S on the end of these words. Then of course there are simple punctuation mistakes, capital letters, full stops, commas, apostrophes. Have they been included? Are they in the right place? Go back and check for these. Next are subject-verb agreement problems. This basically means, have you used is and are correctly? For example, we should use freedom is rather than freedom are. Then there are word formation issues. Have you used the correct noun, verb, adjective, or adverb form of the word for the sentence that you're writing? For example, should it be occasion or occasionally? Which word is the correct one? Then there are spelling mistakes. Often students can go back and spot one or two of their own spelling mistakes. And then finally there are times when there are missing words or the word order is not quite right. These 8 mistakes can all be fixed quite quickly, and especially if you know the types of mistakes that you commonly make, you can go back and focus on these things. Let's have a go at seeing if we can spot some of those mistakes for ourselves. Here is a typical body paragraph, and there are actually 15 mistakes in here. I'd like you to stop the video and spend a couple of minutes seeing if you can work out what the mistakes are and how you would correct them. When you're ready for the answers, then press play again and I'll reveal the 15 mistakes. So pause the video now, please. So let's have a look now and see what the answers should actually be. All of the words in colour have been corrected in some way, and the grammar mistakes that they relate to are colour coded to the slide I showed you a couple of minutes ago. And if you want to see what type of grammar mistake each of them is, then you can go back to that slide and have a little look. But essentially we've got mistakes regarding articles. It needs to be the divide, because we already know which divide we're talking about. We had 2 A's missing. We had a mistake with spelling for decent before there was an S in it, but there shouldn't be an S in it. We had a missing capital letter on unfortunately. We had an is instead of an are. We had associated, and you need the D on it for this form of the word. We don't need the S's on education, as education is an uncountable noun. We had preposition mistakes, and the correct ones should be in and to. We had a spelling mistake with ability, which had a double L on it. Then we had word order mistakes with be and that. And finally, the very last word there needs to be potential and not potentially. So that was a word formation mistake again. So essentially, these types of mistakes can be corrected quite quickly. Notice there's no sentences being rewritten. This can all be done in just a couple of minutes. So remember, absolutely do not skip this part of the writing process. It's really important that you do this, as you can gain a half a band, maybe even an entire band for your grammar just by checking through your work. Also remember to check for the easy quick fix improvements. We're not looking to change the structure of our essay or rewrite any sentences. We're just looking for those mistakes that I just showed you. Also, you need to make this a habit. Do it every time. If you do this, then you'll get used to working within the time constraints that you have, and you'll remember to do it when you actually do it on test day. And finally, get used to the types of mistakes that you typically make. If you are always missing S's off words, then you know that's something you need to focus on when you're checking your work in the exam. If you're always mixing up your articles, then again, this is something you can focus on when you go back and check through your work. So that's what you need to check for. It's really important that you do so, and make sure you turn this into a habit. That's the end of the video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.